Cyberpunk just got a big new update to 2.0. We're going to go over all the details with 2.02, as well as some various secret fixes and exploits, and we're also going to go over some out-of-game rewards. We got a lot to talk about. What's up, world? It's back there, we're checking out all things Cyberpunk. Now first up, let's just jump right into the actual patch notes. Now they have a section for Phantom Liberty specific, and some of these things are for various quest things and spoilers, so I will actually avoid all the spoiler content here and kind of just give you a content structure on what is being fixed within Phantom Liberty. However, we do have some various fixes here, like rebalancing the time limits for vehicle contracts. Seems like maybe there was some additive time there, or they added a little bit of extra time for people to actually get those car turn-ins. I kind of like the adrenaline there, but yeah, there was probably some that were a little bit of an issue. They also included a big section here for various fixes for animations, lighting scenes, VFX, and more. Again, that was specifically pertaining to Phantom Liberty. They also fixed several collision issues in various locations that could cause players to get stuck. Definitely an issue there, especially if you don't have a save to go to, or obviously there is no unstuck option. This is actually a really cool one here. When starting a new game and skipping ahead to Phantom Liberty, quests that were simulated as completed will now be visible in the journal. I am curious on what simulated routes were taken, if it was just the best viable choices there. I do believe you can see the choice options in the journal if I remember correctly, so that would be kind of cool to see. And it does look like we finally had a major fix for the Quadra Sport R Vigilante, which wasn't available for purchase from the auto fixer, and this was a pre-order DLC, or essentially the pre-order for the actual Phantom Liberty. It's basically a bonus for that, and yeah, a lot of people on Xbox were not actually getting that, so hopefully it looks like it's fixed across the board, and yeah, I'm hoping Xbox players will finally get to experiment with the Vigilante. They had some various fixes that were tie-ins from the main story, and if you skipped the main story to do just Phantom Liberty, some of the things that would have been there originally in their place, or however it kind of falls through, have now been added to the actual Phantom Liberty section, so that way when you do go back to the main story areas, those pieces and places that were simulated will now fall into place. Don't want to go through too much there because that is spoiler territory, but yeah, essentially stuff that was being simulated, or the auto quests that were being done for the new Phantom Liberty. If you were to just skip to Phantom Liberty, some of the stuff from the original campaign was not there or where it should have been. So all that should be fixed now if you do just pick the skip to Phantom Liberty section. Again, there was also a few other things that you weren't able to pick up and kind of take with you if you did skip to Phantom Liberty. So those things have now been fixed as well. They also finally fixed that Xbox Series X and S issue where it would have an error message regarding the Phantom Liberty's installation. Basically a false pop-up that kept coming up for them. Now here's where we get onto the quest specifics. And there's a lot of fixes here, whether it's progression things or maybe like a door not closing properly, stuff not triggering at certain scenarios, and just getting completely stuck. A lot of progression blockers, of course, which is mostly the main thing. There is a lot of side gigs that got fixed here, so if you are having issues with any of the gigs on the side, these seem to be fixed as well. There's also some major fixes for a lot of the big story quests here, so a lot of this stuff has been fixed if you've been encountering any errors, or again, any progression blockers, which seems to be more so always the fixed place. Now we did have those big gameplay changes like fixing skill progression passives, which yeah, was definitely a major issue on launch and even into 2.01. They also fixed that major bug that 2.01 introduced, where just upon loading your game, your cyberware was downgraded to tier 1, which yeah, is pretty quite drastic for people to just have their tier 5++ downgraded to tier 1 just from an update. So really glad that's fixed here. They also rebalanced some weapons based on player feedback. So if there's any weapons that you've been using that have essentially kind of not been as good, they've probably received either buffs or nerfs, mostly probably buffs. However, I haven't really used a lot of the weapons. I've been mainly using cyberware stuff and hacking, so I haven't really known what exactly would be buffed. From some of the Reddit posts, it does look like a lot of the melee weapons have seen kind of rebalancing there. Here's kind of a controversial one that some people are a little bit upset about, which is that crafting specs for iconic weapons will now disappear after crafting them. So you cannot constantly craft iconic weapons. It is a bit sad. It's a single player game. They already canceled the multiplayer or what they were going to do for the multiplayer. So I'm not exactly sure why they would add this. Hopefully this is taken back after some player feedback, as there does seem to be a lot of people upset with it. They also fixed an issue where you could duplicate junk. Again, not really sure why they needed to fix duplication glitches in a single player game. I do understand that they want to make the game more flawless. But yeah, it just seems kind of like it's a little too much and over needed. But hey, whatever. It's fixed now, and so you won't be able to do that anymore. It also looks like bullets now deal damage correctly when shooting through glass. So it seems like they were having a major issue with that. Maybe with some reduced damage there. Although, partially makes sense. Through glass, probably not so. Here is a big one for the cyber stuff, where the data recycler perk would recover the base RAM cost without taking RAM reduction perks into account, thus recovering more RAM that was actually spent. However, I will say about this that in most other games like MMOs or things that kind of have a multiplayer aspect with perk trees, it typically is based off the actual base generator or base stat. So like for example, something like cooldown reduction in a game that's 10 seconds, and if you reduce it by 10%. However, if you had further cooldown reduction stats or cooldown reduction perks or items, that would give you another 2 seconds off from the base 10 seconds. So the cooldown reduction of 20 or 30% now would actually be at 7 seconds, and it wouldn't be taken from the 9-second counter. So yeah, I'm not sure why they're doing that. Typically, this was actually correct. When skill trees are introduced, if you take a perk, it's always off the base stat. That's how it should have been. However, I can see that maybe it was a little too overpowered. However, still, maybe there should have been some more balancing there, but yeah, it's normally off the base stat. It's a little confused there. Now, there was 2 PC specific fixes here. However, they both were kind of minor. This one was selecting the default graphics settings should now pick the proper quick preset based on your hardware and according to the latest system recommendations. So a bit of refinement there with picking the correct graphics settings. There was also some corruption issues with mismatch or corrupted scripts, which caused outdated mods or file corruption during updates/installations. So that has now been fixed. If you've been having any issues with mods, that should be kind of fixed as well. Consoles actually did receive some few fixes too. They increased the save.det internal buffer size to 15 megabits, which will increase the overall max save size. So it looks like people were running into save issues and save size issues. This happened with Baldur's Gate 3 and a few other games this year. It seems like they keep having to increase the save size. They probably just are not wanting to have it too large. Especially with how cloud saves are treated now, they probably need to kind of limit that as much as possible. Now, we do have a miscellaneous section here, again with various issues and performance fixes. They remastered the voiceover to improve audio quality in the German, simplified Chinese, and Japanese. Kind of a major one there to remaster the entire audio for those languages. They also fixed an issue where you would just unlock trophies and achievements by loading a pre-2.0 save on 2.01, despite not meeting the criteria. So it seems like maybe people were unlocking secret or kind of achievements they didn't want to already. It was almost like they were getting spoiled by their achievements there. So really glad that was fixed as well. There's also various fixes with progression blockers and a few other things there. There was also quite a funny one here, which was giving money to a homeless person will no longer lower your NCPD wanted level. I still feel like they should have kept that one in. It's kind of funny, and yeah, I didn't even know you could really do that. In fact, I didn't even really know you could give money to homeless people. I've never even seen the option for it. Still kind of cool, and yeah, I think it was a funny bug that they probably should have left in. Now, if you are looking for some additional in-game content, or at least with a specific weapon, there is the Pitbull Power Assault Rifle on Prime Gaming right now. So if you have Prime Gaming, you might as well just claim this. You have until November 29th, so quite a long time. This has some pretty good perks on it, like movement speed, as well as the faster you move, the more damage it actually deals. And they said that the bonuses will actually stay in place if you have other Barghest weapons. So kind of some cool synergy there if you're already using those weapons. So last minute mentionables, well, we did have that photo mode challenge. They finally showed off the prizes that you can get, and there's a lot of various ones here. Unfortunately, you can't submit photos anymore, it looks like, but they still haven't disclosed the winners, and they won't until November 19th. So quite a ways away. However, you can check out some of the actual submissions here if you want. They have them kind of all listed out in different categories here, which is really cool. But overall, that should about cover everything I talked about in this video. I'll include a link down to below. And if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and until the next one, deuce.